So, a couple weeks ago, there was a cinematic reveal trailer for the next Witcher game, officially called The Witcher 4. Now, we're pretty big CD Projekt Red fans over here. Well, kinda. We're never pre-ordering any of their games ever again, but still, we're fans. This new Witcher game is CDPR's chance to actually redeem themselves after the slap in the face that was the Cyberpunk 2077 launch. But we're not here to talk about any of that. Apparently, this trailer was met with a bit of controversy, which sounds about right. Some concerns I think are quite valid, while others, well, let's just say gaming discourse might be evolving backwards. So today I'll be looking at a lot of the concerns people have and sort of approaching them with a bit more of an open mind. That being said, we're going to start off with what I consider to be the lowest form of discourse and the most nonsensical of the concerns. Ciri's appearance. Some people are saying she isn't attractive enough. And listen man, I get it. I'm as tired of woke nonsense as much as the next guy. And I'd be lying if I said I wasn't somewhat worried about heading back on the path just for medieval Poland to become a racially diverse melting pot of tokenized people to hit some fucking diversity quota or something. But I'm gonna be honest, it's pretty annoying when I see a bunch of people online constantly bitching about insert random female protagonist here isn't hot enough, especially in cases where it's downright ridiculous like this one. I'm sorry, I just can't get behind the idea that every woman needs to look like an Instagram model. And listen, sometimes it does feel like they're going out of their way to make characters look weird. I mean, that one lady from Star Wars, she looks kind of uncanny, I'm gonna be honest. But I really don't think this is a valid concern for the new Ciri. She looks fine, like a warrior lady. And I feel like that's what they were going for, which I'm personally in favor of. But if you really can't get over the new look, just keep in mind that this was a cinematic trailer. While it's not guaranteed, it's possible that she'll look completely different in the game. Remember that we got like 3 different promotional Geralts and none of them really look like the guy in game. Now, to be fair, I'd say a solid 70% of the people complaining about this are just trolling because it's just that ridiculous, but it's not beyond the realm of possibility that some of these guys are actually upset about this, and if this is the reason you're not gonna play The Witcher 4, man, I mean, I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna just call it like it is. You're kind of pathetic, but let's move on. Now with the cultural war brain rot out of the way, an actual valid concern I can understand is the new voice of Ciri.
By the gods!
No! You chose her.
And listen, I'm with you. I think the old Ciri VA was completely fine, and I'm not entirely sure why they would have changed it. Though, I have 2 potential theories. First is that this being a more mature Ciri, maybe the goal was to make her sound a little older. But I doubt it considering the Polish voice actor hasn't changed at all. My second guess though is that CDPR plans to do full motion capture. It could be the case that they want the voice of the character to also physically play her, thus having the same voice to match the facial and motion capture I'd imagine is preferable over having 2 different people. And the reason why the Polish voice actor might still be the same is that the main language of the games, unlike the books, is English. What I mean by that is, the faces are animated saying English words, and Polish is just dubbed over anyways, so there would be no point in recasting the Polish VA. Of course, keep in mind this is just my speculation, but I'd say that's why they changed the English VA. I can't really think of any other reason considering we're all used to the previous voice actor, but that's neither here nor there. I definitely say this is a valid concern, but only time will tell if it's warranted. Another pretty major complaint I saw was Ciri being the protagonist at all. And this has many smaller concerns and ideas coming along with it. One that I saw was the idea that CDPR should have gone back in time to show us the golden age of Witchers, and we could have maybe created our own Witcher and a character creator. Which, I mean, sounds pretty sick, but what I really find funny is that I see the same people saying that CDPR is abandoning the books with The Witcher 4. Now, I don't think I need to explain that going back in time to the golden age of Witchers would be a far greater level of abandonment of the books. I'm not an expert on the novels, but from what I know, they don't offer centuries of detailed world building that CDPR could conveniently pull from. Plus, CDPR excels at writing more defined characters. The whole character creator thing I think would just be out of place here. Even with Cyberpunk, V's a fairly defined character, despite being faceless. Another fairly valid concern I saw brought up when discussing Ciri as the main character is the fact that it effectively canonizes one of the endings. And if you look at it at face value, then sure, it does canonize the Witcher ending, but realistically, I could see any of the endings working. The one where Ciri quote-unquote dies sort of implies that she didn't, and the one where she became a politician, she had clear doubts about it. I don't think it's unrealistic that in either scenario, she could potentially return to a life of monster slaying. I think this concern makes more sense from a more spirited perspective, because yeah, sure, technically Ciri could have become a Witcher from any of the endings, but it sort of betrays the other two endings in spirit. What's the point of doing the other two if she ends up a Witcher anyway? And that I can understand. But realistically, there's no one else they could have continued the story with. Geralt got his send-off, and as much as we love him, I think the best stories are ones that conclude. I'd prefer he not be brought back than potentially ruined. If CDPR were to continue this world, the one presented within the books, in spirit, then Ciri was really the only option. All of that being said, one of the bigger concerns isn't that Ciri is the main character, it's that she underwent the trial of the grasses. In lore, it's stated that only men can become Witchers, and it's impossible for women to survive the trial. Except, no, nowhere in lore does it actually state that a female Witcher is impossible. What confuses me is that Ciri is an adult. Generally, adults aren't supposed to be able to survive the trial of the grasses, that's why they do it on, younger boys and whatnot. So I'm really interested to see how they're gonna somehow explain her even surviving the trial, and that's the main concern in my eyes. But you also gotta keep in mind that this is a Witcher game. For that title to mean anything, Ciri had to undergo the trial. There are entire mechanics built around being a Witcher, thus it wouldn't really work if you just gave Ciri a steel and silver sword. What I think is really important here though is how CD Projekt Red decides to justify her going through it. If there's anything they've been consistently good at, it's their ability to tell compelling stories. The writing has never really disappointed, so I'd say let them cook. They more than anyone else should understand that they can't just gloss over this event. A matter of fact, ideally it's something we get to experience alongside Ciri in the game, but only time will tell. Another big thing I've heard people say as it pertains to Ciri going through the trial is them asking, why did they nerf her, quote unquote. I think this is a stupid question to ask. Ciri is effectively one of the strongest beings on the continent. It would make no sense to give us a fully Elder Blood powered Ciri at the beginning of a new saga. Think about it, how would she grow, progress, and improve if she already has power no one else could match? The right thing to do is to nerf her. It makes sense from both a narrative and gameplay standpoint. One of my main concerns with Ciri as the new lead is that I didn't think she would work as well as Geralt due to her kinda being the main character. Geralt was not just a normal guy, but he was never really the main character. If anything, he was more of an observer to events happening that went far beyond him. And because of this, the world felt really alive. CDPR excels at writing characters like this. V from Cyberpunk in a lot of ways was a victim of events that went far beyond them, which is why the world of Cyberpunk itself is so fascinating. Hell, I spent like an hour and a half talking about it. The thing is, Ciri wasn't like that. She was the center, the most powerful. A lot kinda revolves around her, and this is due to her Elder Blood abilities. Nerfing her by removing or diminishing them almost brings Ciri down from that pedestal to more of an observer like Geralt. I'm hoping that's the direction that CDPR will take this. If the narrative in the cinematic is any indication, then it seems so. But instead of getting hyped up or freaking out online, I'll be patient, as only time will tell. But that's gonna be all. Like and subscribe if willing, and I'll see you in the next one.
There are no gods here. There are only monsters.